Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast.
Today, we're doing a really critical deep dive into one of the biggest shifts that's reshaping, well, the entire retail industry and modern business strategy. We're talking about the recommerce revolution.
That's exactly right. For decades, buying used goods was
Yeah.
it was kind of relegated to the sidelines, wasn't it?
Yep.
Garage sales, thrift stores.
Niche segments, collectors.
Exactly. But that era it's just decisively over. So our mission today is to get past the anecdotes. We're going to pull out the core data-backed insights on why this has gone so mainstream.
And more importantly, what it means for professionals. What are the specific strategic moves you need to be thinking about to, future-proof your business models?
Because this shift is happening fast.
Incredibly fast. I think the first thing to really grasp is just the sheer scale of it all. This isn't some temporary fad.
Wow.
The global recommerce market has already blown past $165 billion, and the projections we're seeing show nearly 80% growth by 2028.
80%.
Yeah.
In just 4 years. That's not evolution. That's an acceleration, a tectonic shift, really.
It is. That kind of growth changes everything. It impacts inventory, manufacturing, marketing departments, right across the board.
And it's because everyone is doing it.
Absolutely. This growth is fueled by massive adoption. The report notes that 86% of consumers have either bought or sold pre-loved goods in just the past year.
So it's not a segment anymore. It's just normal.
Well, it's the standard behavior for the majority.
Yeah.
And we see the U.S. really leading the charge in sales volume, currently sitting at about 52 billion pounds a year. It just shows how mature that market has become.
Okay, so let's get into the why then. If 86% of people are in on this, what are the core forces driving it? The report seems to break it down into 3 main pillars, starting with the most obvious one.
Right. Value and financial savings.
Of course.
Value is the undeniable foundation. Our data shows 62% of consumers say saving money is their #1 reason for buying pre-loved.
But there's a strategic layer to that, isn't there? It's not just about being thrifty.
No, and this is the critical insight for professionals. The report highlights that 51% of those buyers take the money they saved and they use it to splurge somewhere else.
Oh, that's interesting. So they're funding other purchases.
Exactly. Experiences, high-value discretionary items, saving for a big goal.
So recommerce isn't just taking a slice of the retail pie. It's actually acting as a budget enabler. If I save, say, 500 pounds on a refurbished laptop, that's 500 pounds that can go towards a vacation.
Precisely. And for professionals who aren't even in retail, this signals a major shift in how disposable income is being allocated. If you're in travel or luxury goods, you need to see the recommerce market as a kind of stealth funding source for your customers.
It's a budget optimization strategy.
You're not just a bargain hunt.
Exactly. So the second big driver seems to tap into a deeper value shift. We're talking about sustainability and environmental impact.
And this has moved from a nice-to-have to a decisive factor for a huge part of the market. The numbers here are really powerful.
I saw that. It's something like 92% of buyers.
92% say environmental concerns are important in their decision. And, when we talk about the circular economy, this is it in practice. 64% of consumers explicitly agree that shopping pre-loved helps the planet.
By reducing waste, extending a product's life.
Right. It transforms a brand's story from just linear consumption to, well, sustainable stewardship. It's a powerful narrative.
And it helps them meet those ESG goals that are becoming so important.
Absolutely. So you have the rational case with finance and sustainability, but then there's the third driver, which is a bit more emotional.
The search for unique finds.
Yes. The treasure hunt element, the personality factor. About 25% of buyers are looking for things they just can't buy new anymore.
Discontinued items.
Discontinued, unique. Another 18% are explicitly hunting for collectibles. It taps into that desire for individuality, getting something special.
So you've got this trifecta of value, values, and uniqueness powering demand. Okay, so now that we know why people are buying, let's talk about what they're buying. Where is the money actually flowing?
Well, when you break down the categories, apparel and fashion are just the overwhelming leaders. 48% of buyers, they go for clothes first.
Almost half.
Yeah, in major markets, something like 4 pounds out of every 10 pounds spent on used goods goes to fashion. And that includes these really high-value subcategories like classic denim, premium sneakers, vintage jackets.
Stuff that holds its value well.
Exactly. Things with high residual value and a fast sell-through.
But the big challenge there must be quality control, right? Fashion is so subjective compared to, say, an iPhone. How do platforms handle that headache?
That's where the infrastructure really proves its worth. They manage it with really rigorous listing standards,
Yeah.
clear condition grading.
Condition, excellent, grade A, that kind of thing.
That's it. They're basically turning something subjective like, is this stain noticeable, into objective data points. And that is absolutely essential for building buyer trust.
Especially for the high-end designer pieces.
Oh, for sure. And speaking of high-end and trust, the other massive engine here is refurbished technology. This category is just critical.
Because the value involved is so much higher.
Absolutely. Electronics make up about 22% of top purchases, and we're seeing resilient double-digit growth year over year in refurbished tech. The appeal is that perfect blend of strong value and a lower environmental footprint.
And for tech, trust moves from just a feeling to a verifiable guarantee, doesn't it? You're not buying a 30-pound t-shirt.
Correct. The source material is very clear that buyers of high-value tech demand clear trust signals. So that means graded devices, verifiable repair records, and maybe most importantly, robust warranties.
You have to take the risk away from the buyer.
You have to. And that reliance on trust signals really highlights how essential the digital infrastructure has become, this whole platform effect. It's what turned this from a weekend hobby into a routine.
Right. They just attacked every point of friction.
Relentlessly. They simplified the entire journey for both the buyer and the seller. Streamlined listings, secure payments, trusted logistics. I mean, look at the eBay data. Pre-owned listings for bags and shirts are up double digits, and listings that are specifically tagged thrifted jumped 400%.
400%. Wow.
That surge in inventory creates this powerful network effect. More stuff brings more buyers, which brings more sellers. It's a self-feeding loop.
And on the supply side of that loop, you have the rise of what the report calls the accidental entrepreneur.
That's it. For 68% of sellers in the U.S., the main motivation is just making extra cash. It often starts as decluttering, but then it becomes a real side hustle. The report says 43% of U.S. sellers see themselves as accidental entrepreneurs.
That is a huge part of the population suddenly monetizing their own assets with, almost no upfront cost.
And that monetization really brings us to the core strategic insights for professionals. Let's start with a tech that's making all of this possible at scale.
Yes, this is where it gets really interesting for anyone in tech or supply chain. Let's go beyond just saying they use AI. How is it changing the game?
Okay, so the first accelerator is AI and machine learning. And it's doing more than just recommending items. It's the engine of trust. ML models help sellers set competitive prices instantly, which keeps inventory moving. But more critically, AI is driving fraud detection.
How does that work?
It's analyzing behavioral patterns. It can flag a suspicious listing by spotting things like weird price changes, the same image being used across dozens of accounts, or language that just doesn't feel right.
So it's proactive.
It's proactive flagging, and that builds trust at scale. Buyers spend less time worrying about risky items.
And the second accelerator is mobile, right? The mobile-first journey.
It has to be. Modern recommerce is near instant. You can snap a photo, write a description, and list an item in, a minute? Platforms like Depop are even blending in social discovery features, making it feel less transactional.
And more like a social interaction, which really appeals to younger users.
Absolutely. But then you have items where the value is so high you need absolute certainty. Luxury goods, collectibles.
That's where blockchain comes in. Provenance.
Right. For a $10,000 watch, trust is the whole transaction. Blockchain can create this immutable digital passport for an item, a verifiable record of its entire life.
And the strategic upside of that is?
Well, it boosts trust, obviously, but it does more. It guarantees authenticity, which keeps counterfeits out, and it ensures the item holds a higher resale value because its history is proven. It's a huge value add.
So all this tech and consumer behavior has to connect back to marketing. The report makes a big point about a generational strategy. You can't talk to a Gen Z buyer the same way you talk to a boomer.
You absolutely have to tailor the message. Gen Z and millennials are the most active. 21% of Gen Z are buying pre-loved every single month.
Every month.
They're driven by social discovery and sustainability. So for them, the messaging has to be about planet benefits and fresh drops. It connects to their identity.
Whereas for Gen X and boomers, it's much more practical.
It's deeply practical. Their focus is on financial prudence, decluttering. They care less about social clout and more about transparency and security. They want clear photos, easy returns, and a guarantee that the transaction is sound.
So this all leads to the big strategic question for retailers looking at 2025 and beyond. How do they align with this? Do they compete or join in?
The future is integration, not competition. The big move we're seeing is retailers integrating resale directly into their own experience.
So things like trade-in programs.
Exactly. Trade-in funnels, take-back programs, and creating their own certified pre-owned lines that sit right next to the new inventory.
That seems like a massive operational lift. Why are they taking it on?
It hits multiple strategic goals at once. First, it turns reverse logistics returns from a cost center into a revenue opportunity. Second, it massively boosts customer lifetime value. You keep that customer in your ecosystem instead of losing them to a third-party marketplace.
And you capture the margin on the second and third sale of that same product.
Precisely. The goal is to make resale feel like a natural, frictionless option right next to new stock. It improves margins and hits those sustainability goals we talked about.
Okay, so let's bring this all together for you, the listener. What this means right now is that this re-commerce revolution it's here to stay. It's powered by this deep consumer demand for value, choice, and environmental benefit.
And for any business, the focus has to be on removing friction and building absolute technology-backed trust. The report gives you a really clear framework for action.
Let's hear it.
First, you pick categories with high-growth fashion, tech. Second, you source smartly using those trade-in programs to build your own supply. Third, you set fair prices with AI tools. And finally, you build community, tailoring your message to your specific generational audience.
That is a fantastic practical framework. But to leave you with one final thought to really chew on for your 2026 strategy, let's flip the perspective. Let's not think about the consumer for a second, but the manufacturer.
How will the rise of these certified refurbished programs, how will that fundamentally shift product design? The reality is, products designed from day one for repairability, for modularity, for authenticated resale.
Where every part is trackable.
Yes. Those products will command higher long-term value and much greater brand loyalty. The product lifecycle is no longer an afterthought. It might just be the most important design feature of all.
A fascinating way to frame it. The design itself becomes a financial strategy. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the re-commerce revolution.
It was great to unpack all these insights.
If you found this discussion valuable and want more strategic insights on the future of work and business, be sure to subscribe to the SmartKeys podcast wherever you get your audio. You can find the link to the full article, Recommerce Trend, How Resale Marketplaces Are Changing Retail, right there in the show notes. We'll see you on the next deep dive.